Cool. So I am here today with Thembi. I am with Pages Now, and as part of Women's Month, we are chatting to some of the powerhouse females behind some of our homegrown brands. And yeah, Thembi is to me from Leather Zulu. And yeah, let's start with hearing more about your story. I always feel like that's a great place to start.
Hi, Carrie. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I mean, I guess my story and the story of the creation of Leather Zulu is like trying to solve a problem for myself in terms of I love handbags and always have. And so my sister and I had the idea when we bought this business that was in the process of winding down to say we could do something really cool here and have a service where people can like get the perfect bag made for themselves, because that was always like a challenge for me. As much as I love like a handbag, I'm also not a fan of like going to malls and stuff. And so, because you know, finding like the exact thing you're looking for isn't always the most efficient process. So yeah, we've been on the journey for a few years now, and then grown also into doing repairs and restoration services, which is like, you know, going through my mom's wardrobe and my grandmother's wardrobe, and you find all these like beautiful treasures, but they need a little bit of love and care. And so when we couldn't find a space to get that done, it was like, oh, we could do this with Leather Zulu. So that's kind of how the business has evolved, and where we're at now, where we offer, you know, the service for people to have like the perfect bag handcrafted for them by our team. And then on the other side, we also offer aftercare service for your leather handbags or designer handbags that need just a little bit of care to keep them alive for longer and keep them usable for longer. And so yeah, that's the story of how we got into the business and how it's kind of gotten to where it is now.
I love that. I love the fact that you can breathe new life into these old treasures. You know, sometimes you think that they sort of have, gone past the point of being able to enjoy anymore. And it is difficult to actually find really quality and trusted repair like operations. So that's really awesome. And I was watching a BBC interview with you and your sister, is that right? And it said
Yeah.
that there was that you came from I think it was like a finance, but there was a finance background from someone and a marketing background, and so that was I'd love to hear a little bit more about taking the leap from that into the space. Was that quite challenging, or did you feel ready?
Yeah, so my sister comes from a finance background. I come from a management strategy background. So
Okay.
yeah, so like a little bit far removed from the like fashion world that we now find ourselves in. And I think it wasn't so much about being ready to make the leap as much as it was just doing it whether we were ready or not, you know, and kind of more of a leap of faith to say this is something that we really wanted to do and we were going to pursue it and see how far we can take it and how it goes. And it's definitely had its challenges, but it's also been really, really fulfilling. It's been fun. We've grown a lot. We spend a lot of time together, which is interesting, you know, both from like some of the challenges with our personal relationship and our professional relationship, but you know, it's been a growing part. And it's just been like a take it day by day and holding each other's hands through it. I guess the positive side of having my sister as my business partner is also that, you know, in the days when she's like ready to quit, I'll say, no, we can keep going. And then when I'm ready to give it up, she does the same for me. And so it's just like an ongoing cycle. But yeah, so that's kind of been the evolution of our path, and just kind of how we've walked the journey, just take it back day by day.
How would you define success? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, that question is so interesting. And especially like with the colorful year everybody's coming out of now, a big part of it for us has been, you know, we've been very fortunate to be able to keep our team employed at Leather Zulu through the madness that has been the past 18 months. And that has been a real sense of pride for us to have been able to keep our team, and therefore keep, you know, their families with some sense of stability through everything that's been happening. And so success isn't necessarily in like the big, huge accomplishments for me, but in like just finding the day-to-day meaning in what we're doing. And and that's really been what's kept us pushing when things have become quite challenging, is, you know, just remembering that there are people that are counting on us to do what we need to do to keep the business going. Because for us, it's something that we're doing because we love it and enjoy it. But for the people that we work with within Leather Zulu, it's, you know, how they make a living, how they keep their families sustained, and being able to be a part of supporting them in their journey through like being creative and going through the creative processes, and seeing the value in the work that they do as the craftsmen and the leathersmiths that they are. That really is a big point of pride for me, and really is one of the ways that I define success for Leather Zulu and for myself. It's the value that we're adding to the people that we interact with, and the team being a big part of that. And then, of course, you know, the customers that we interact with. Like, we did a project for a customer who had an old bag from her grandmother and she needed restored, and you could see just how happy she was to be able to like use it again and have this memento of somebody that meant so much to her. And so it really is in those small moments where we're like, actually, this is cool and it matters. And there's an impact that we're having, and that feels really good, and is a big part of what success looks like for me.
That sounds like success to me. There's like many levels there. So I think that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, you touched on it a little bit, but what are some of the challenges that you guys would face in your operation? Whether, I mean, it could be across the board, but obviously this past year in particular, and even possibly the last one, has been incredibly challenging. But yeah, what does that look like for you in terms of what you come up against?
Yeah, sure.
How much time do you have?
I mean, I guess like one of the things that comes up, I think, for all small businesses is where you are all the functions, you know. So when you're within a corporate space, and there's somebody who's responsible for HR, and there's somebody who's responsible for finance, and it all just kind of gets done. And in this kind of environment, it's like, if I'm not doing it or my sister's not doing it, then it's not getting done. And so a big part of the challenge has been like, you know, learning the various new skills that comes with being completely out of one's area of comfort, you know, whether it's now having to figure out how does HR management work, and, you know, how do these payroll taxes and all this stuff work, you know, and then also looking after the welfare of the team, you know, through this past year when they've had moments of feeling insecure, afraid, just like we all were. Yes. And then it's, you know, how do you navigate that? How do you keep them, you know, feeling safe even when you're not sure quite really what's going to be happening? And then, of course, figuring out all the financial management and the marketing management and the social media this, and yeah, just like all the different areas that there aren't necessarily people waiting, you know, to take it over and do it for you. You just kind of have to figure out how it works. Like, we spent the past few weeks, my sister's been setting up our communications platform on the WhatsApp API for business. So like, it's like, you know, learning new skills every single day, which is interesting, and it keeps it, you know, it keeps the brain engaged, it keeps you growing. But yeah, like these moments where you're like, what is happening? Like, I don't know how half of this stuff means.
You're definitely laying down loads of new neural pathways there via your brain, like, and wearing all these different hats. So I can,
exactly,
like, had a business previously and for about 10 years, and I really feel you. Like, it's literally one day you are the finance person, and then you are the marketing person, and then you're the social media person, and then you're the stock person. But yeah, I think it takes a special kind of person to take on that kind of challenge. And I think it's just being really flexible in terms of rolling with whatever comes your way, I suppose, you know, because every day is so different.
Yeah, like every day is a brand new challenge.
What advice do you have for budding entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I would say it's really important to keep reminding yourself like of the aspects of what you're doing that are fun and that you enjoy and that you find the fulfillment in, especially on those days when it's hard to find it easily, you know, because you have those days when you are going, like when I go into the workshop and I don't necessarily want to be there and I'm not necessarily in a good mood and I'm like, there has to be a better way. and on those days where it's like, okay, but just remember that this is why what you're doing has an impact. And as I said, for me, it's been, you know, reminding myself that it's not just about me, it's about all these other people that depend on the livelihood of this business and the health of this business. And so, yeah, it's just keeping those kind of thoughts close by so you're able to reach out for them on those days when they're not necessarily coming on their own, you know. And it's just like
your little motivation toolbox. It's just
yeah, precisely.
And before we close, I wanted to actually ask if you had any advice for Thembi at the beginning of her Leather Zulu journey, if you could go back and say, hey, just keep this in mind.
Yeah, so one of the things I've learned to do over the process of all of this is to create a healthy bit of distance between myself and the business, and to realize that the business is its own thing and it has its own personality. And that's been important for me, because when we've had the moments when things haven't gone quite right, and there's been criticism or things haven't worked, I at the beginning used to take it extremely personally. And you know, it was like I've failed and I've disappointed this customer, you know, and that would make it very difficult to do the next thing and keep going. And so if I was talking to Thembi back then, I would say, you know, it's not personal. It's important to you and you love it and it matters to you, but it's not personal. So, you know, don't take it personally. Do the best you can, but remember the business is its own entity and it lives and breathes and does its own thing. And that's okay. And that's a better way to live, actually, because it means I can also rest when I need to, put the business things and thoughts and problems and all of that away when I need to, so that I can focus on me, the person. And then when I need to re-engage with the business, I can. So it's to create that healthy bit of distance. And I think as the journey has gone on and I've become better at doing that, it's actually also become more fun to do this, because it's like with a healthy respect for the distance between myself and the business. Yeah.
That makes so much sense. I think when we are slightly more boundaried around our personal space, then resentment doesn't grow, because you don't feel so encroached upon the whole time by the requirements of this thing. And so I think that's really healthy and that's super important. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks, Gary.
Cool. So yeah, I think that is us. And I wanted to say thank you so much for your time today. And yeah, have a beautiful rest of your week.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for the chats.
Cool. Chat to you soon. Bye.
Bye.